You asked how to take Rosh Hashana, which is the head. If it's the head, how do you have it infuse the rest of the year? How do you have it stimulate, impact? How do you make it useful? In other words, you're acknowledging that there's some power to Rosh Hashanah, there's an experience, and therefore you're okay with calling it the head. The question is how to implement it. The reason it's called a head, or one of the reasons it's called a head, is just like a human head. Rosh Hashanah has the same effect. The human head has many aspects, and some of the stuff we consciously bring down in our body, it affects us. So, for example, what you think affects your emotions. So that's a fact. Now that you have this information, you could choose to think certain things and it'll affect your emotions. Now that you know this fact, you can even take it further. You could purposely pursue certain ideas to create certain effects. So where am I getting at with this is Rosh Hashanah is going to automatically affect your year. But now that you know it's going to affect your year, what do you want to do about it? What do you want to think about? What do you want to spend time doing on Rosh Hashanah? And therefore it's going to affect your year. Now at the same time, whatever you did in Rosh Hashanah, there's different ways to have it more impactful in your year. So for example, the Rebbe would say is take an actual achlata, because that brings into action. You know, a lot of people, a lot of us, even action people, the brain thinks more than, an action. And obviously it'll take a whole bunch of actions to take up a full idea. But if you choose to start proactively acting, even if you don't feel it yet, that's really making sure the head infuses the rest of the body. And there's different ways to unpack this. So in other words, what I'm saying is Rosh Hashanah will unpack itself. In fact, people came over to the Rebbe with the same exact question, and they actually asked the Rebbe, like, it's, I've been here the whole Tishrei. I'm going home with Shabbos Bereshis. What am I going home with? I feel like I'm going home empty. It was just inspiration. It was just, and the Rebbe said, don't worry, you have a full year to unpack it. First of all, the Rebbe might have been saying on one level is it will get unpacked. On the second level, he's saying, yeah, unpack it. Unpack it. So the first thing is load up the head with good things. The second thing is trust Hashem, it'll help you unpack it. And third thing is think of a different achlata, different actions that could come from when you're standing at the head. And then the fourth thing is throughout the year, spend some time unpacking it proactively. In other words, unpacking from that state. Go back to your Rosh Hashanah state. Go back and say, how was I feeling Rosh Hashanah? How would I come to this problem from my Rosh Hashanah experience? How would I approach this idea if I was inspired? If I was seeing what I saw in Rosh Hashanah? What does it mean to choose Hashem as king? From your point, to just say it would be fake. I'm hearing one is to just say it would be fake because it's not sincere. And that would be one level. And you're asking, how could I be more sincere? I'm hearing a second layer, which being that I'm okay with having Hashem as king. Why is Rosh Hashanah different? Like, I'm gonna say the same thing, Hashem, you're king. Like, why? Like, what is really going on deeper? Why are we setting a whole day aside and building up a climax to basically say, Hashem, you're my king and I want this? It's already agreeable to me. It's already something I desire. By giving this so much attention and time, it kind of makes me feel like, it's a bit corny. It makes me feel uncomfortable. What's interesting is I'm learning right now a mimer. And the Rebbe brings up two ideas in accepting Hashem as king. Not accepting, two ideas of calling out Hashem and creating in him, bringing out in him the desire to be king, the desire to make a world, the desire to have a relationship with the world. And the Rebbe explains that serving Hashem with logic is coercing. In other words, if you're choosing stuff because it makes sense, it's a certain form of coercion. Why am I playing this out? Because it makes sense to me and I'd be a total fool if I don't follow through. So even though it's comfortable in my skin and it makes sense, and it's a pushing. And we find that with the areas that we disagree with, right? Certain areas where we know make sense, but my whole body disagrees with, I go with it because it makes sense. Or at least sometimes I try to go with it because it makes sense. But it doesn't, it's a fight. The Rebbe explains one level of serving Hashem is accepting Hashem as king because that's what makes sense. Like, Hashem, you're my king. The Rebbe says at that point, being that Hashem is totally removed from the world, it's not going to arouse Hashem to become king. Why? Because if the only reason you're choosing Hashem to become king is because it makes sense, where Hashem's not playing that game anymore. Hashem's not playing the place where he's king of the world, and therefore it makes sense to accept him. He's playing the part where I don't know if I'm going to get involved again in this. I don't know if I'm, I don't know if I'm even interested in this. I don't know if I want to be the creator of the world. I just want to be me, right? Whatever Hashem is, to say me, I'm saying, right? So if I'm coming from places, it makes sense to just, hand over the keys to the one who, anyways, could take the keys. At that point, that's not going to reawaken Hashem. So the Rebbe introduces another idea. The second idea is that there's a part of me that wants Hashem because he wants Hashem. Not because it makes sense. Not because, you might as well give in. There's a part of me, my Yechida, that just knows that it wants Hashem. It doesn't even want Hashem. It is Hashem. And the right thing is that Hashem should be ruling. Right? My Chai wants Hashem to be ruling, higher than my logic. My Yechida just wants what Hashem wants. It's in line. So the Rebbe says, how do you arouse this Yechida? How do you arouse this desire to just want what Hashem wants? Which gets Hashem to want to become king. Right? By you attaching yourself to this level and you just want Hashem to become king, it arouses in Hashem the desire to become king, the desire to want to rule the world, the desire to create the world, the desire to be involved in the world, to make a day of Tachtanim. How do you do this? This is dafka by arousing this part in yourself. Now he says, how do you get this? He says, through learning Torah, or through davening, saying the words of Torah, right? In our davening, we're going to be basically saying words of how Hashem is king. That is going to arouse in us. It's going to reveal in us that we are a piece of Hashem, and that's going to get us to actually mean it. And that will get Hashem to want to do it. So now all the ideas aside, what is demanded of us in Rosh Hashana? What's demanded is that from a logical place we want Hashem to become king. Let's get involved and let's want Hashem to become king. But that's not going to call it out. Being that this is what we want, let's get involved in the davening. Let's sincerely think about this. And there it says, also don't only think about Hashem as king, think of Hashem beyond the world. Let's get blown away by godliness. Sometimes, during the year, you want to actually think about lower levels of the way Hashem shows up in the world. It's like this, you should have practical love, practical law. On Rosh Hashana, I want to sit and think about as Hashem is beyond the world. I want to, before this, you want to obviously start davening at a lower level. Hashem is king. Hashem is the creator. Hashem is involved. But slowly getting yourself to be blown away, excited. And this will slowly reveal our neshama at a higher level. Hopefully we'll feel it. And if we don't feel it, you'll still bring it out. And this is the avodah. This is the avodah. To sincerely mean it, to bring it out from a neshama level.